welcome fabulous AP scholars. This is Mr. Paula and welcome to Module 3. I want to take some time to quickly go over our assignments for this week, look at how the module, and just give you some tips and suggestions on how to find your own success this week. So taking a look at the beginning, thanks for watching this video. Hopefully it's helpful and informative. And if you didn't do so already, in the weekly instructional videos, just as a reminder, you have access to our Google Slides, which will typically always be made available when I publish the module at the beginning of the week. So you can look at those before class starts, especially when we have class on a Wednesday. It's a little bit nicer because it gives you more time to preview the information. So on there, just for your resources, we do have Haran and the Sea of Stories, and then How to Read Literature Like a Professor by Foster. Both of those resources are made available here. Sometimes the links in all the other assignments, there could be some errors with them. I try to make sure all of them are working, but for these ones for sure are great ones to use. They go straight to the text. For this quarter and for this week, we're going to be focusing on, again, structural choices made by the writer that contribute to the audience's interpretation of the text. We're going to be looking at the characters in literature and then how really their values, beliefs, assumptions, biases, cultural norms are represented in their conversations, in their actions, and most importantly, in their characterization. So, and then we're going to be looking at the narrators or the speaker's perspective and how that controls the details and emphasis that affects how the audience experiences and interprets the text. And then we're going to be looking at our first choice novel assignment for this semester. The assignments in there, you're going to choose which novel you want to focus on going forward, and then just find a little bit of information about that text so you kind of have an understanding of what it's going to be about before you begin reading. All right, so there's that. If you'd like to see the choice novel pacing guide, I also included it right here for timeline and deadlines. I would encourage you to open that one up. It's a great resource to have. All right, let's go back to our modules. And we'll quickly look at our assignments for this week. So Module 3. First one being How to Read Literature Like a Professor, Chapter 5. I'm only asking that you read one chapter from Foster's text this week. We're going to use that in more detail next week. We'll always be kind of a week off because I give you the week to read it, and then we discuss what we read while you're reading something new. So in a sense, we're always discussing what we read last week. That way everybody has an opportunity to gain that information and have a chance to preview those texts. So for this week, you're reading Chapter 5. Last week, it was Chapter 1. And then for other readings, you're going to read Chapters 3 through 6 on Haran and the Sea of Stories this week. So that's going to be kind of your goal. We're cruising along through it. And then really with a focus on allusions, setting, and then theme going into this week. There are a couple tasks that you're going to be required to complete. So for the first ones, Chapter 3 and 4, if you scroll down towards the bottom, it's at the, where is it? Right here. It is at the bottom. Today's submission. In the provided text box, you're going to list 3 important points or questions so far from the text that you would like to discuss next week during our virtual class. So again, that's chapters 1 through 6, things that you kind of want to point out, questions that you have about the text, things that you found interesting, and then we're going to address those the following week. So we'll kind of have this question for the next couple of weeks as you go through it. What did you find interesting? What question? And then I can put that into the Google Slides, and then we'll have a chance to have some conversation about the text as we're going through it. But I want it to be student-led, things that you want to discuss. So there's that. That's the first assignment, pretty simple. The next one, scrolling back on down, we're going to see right here for chapters 5 and 6. This is a little bit more in depth. Oh, and there was an assignment for chapter 5. Sorry, I forgot there is an assignment with this one. What you're going to be doing is you're going to be, after having read chapters 1 and 5, but most importantly 5, I just have really one question for you. What did you learn from this week's chapter, and how might it help strengthen your understanding of literature while reading? Okay, so that's the question. Pretty simple question. What did you take away from it, and then how is that going to help strengthen your understanding of literature while you're reading? Okay, so how could you apply that to text that you're going to be reading in the future or are currently reading? With that response, I've set it up as a 6-point assignment, And why I'm doing 6-point assignments for a lot of these is because your essays that you're going to be completing if you take the AP exam are based off of a 6-point scale, so a rubric. And I'm trying to mimic that as much as possible early on, so you get used to, do I have a defensible position or a defensible statement that I'm making? Do I have evidence to back it up? Do I explain that evidence? And is there sophistication? That's going to be what's required on all 3 of your essays that you're working on for your AP exam. 6 points, and that's pretty much the breakdown. Do I have a defensible position? Do I have evidence to support it? Do I explain my evidence? And then is there an element, a level of sophistication with my response? So if you can do all of that, that's a 6 on each essay. So I want to start getting you used to that rubric. So even for this question, that's what I'm looking for. So if you don't get a 6 right away and you're like, well, I answered it, let's make sure you go back to the rubric and ensure that you're getting all of those points. All right, let's go back now to the 3rd assignment. Sorry about that. And that's going to be our chapters 5 and 6. Chapters 5 and 6. Really should be 3.3. I'll change that. It says 3.4 right now, but it's going to be 3.3. And then for this assignment, you're going to read chapters 5 and 6, and then you're going to be taking notes as you read through it. So you can really start that with chapters 3 and 4. You can go back to chapters 1 and 2 and use information from there as well. But you're going to use the note catcher that was posted in the 3.2 assignment. Let's go back to it. So in this first one that you're reading, always scrolling down right here, chapters 3 and 4, when you're in there, there's going to be a link to your note catcher. So right here, there's a class notes for Haran, and then you're going to click here to make your copy, and then there's also an illusions chart. So both of those you're going to be working on from here to the end of the novel. And let's just take a look real quick at the note catcher. So this is what the note catcher looks like. You can be working on this first part this week: historical context, literary movements, and influences within the story. And yes, you can search this information. You can look it up. I don't expect you to know this by heart, so you will need to do a little bit of research for it. Author biography, and get to know the author a little bit. What did you find out about them or him? And then critical reception and or analysis. What is the text known for? How was it received by critics in 1990 when it was published, and then over time since then? So again, a little research. Setting. So we're going to be talking about setting in depth this today or this week during our virtual class. So make sure that you are using those notes to help drive and answer what is the setting of the story and how does it impact or influence the plot, the characters, the conflict, etc. So all of that's going to be coming today and later this week. And then for the next one, as you get to know these characters, really be trying to figure out who are they as a person. And then we're going to be looking at characterization this week and then next week as well, and kind of going forward. So what kind of character is it? Is it a round character? Is it a dynamic character, static character, flat character? What kind of archetype are they? Are they the hero, the mentor? Are they the herald? Whatever kind that is, the trickster. See if you can figure that out on there, and you're going to put the character type, archetype, and then any details that really help you get to know that character individually. That's going to go over here. So this is where you take your notes on the characters as you go through it. Not all these characters are you going to know so far. So that's why it's a living document, which means you're going to be working on it throughout the novel. Major themes, plot, what are the major elements of the plot? Just summary is still important, but we're not really just using summary when we do our essays. It's beyond summary, but you have to know the summary. And then main literary techniques. What kind of techniques does the author include or utilize within his text to help bring it to life and to portray the characters in the light that he wants to? Intertextuality contains at least 3 other works, characters, or stories. This can also be like allusions that are brought up. How does it connect to other texts? And then whenever it says HTRL, that's just Horan, and this is how to teach reading, how to read literature like a professor from Foster. That's what the abbreviation's for. So on here, we did this one already. Every story is a quest except when it's not. So C group work, steps for a quest. I'll go over all of this later in class. We've already done some work with this first part. And then for this week's so that was the first chapter in the text that we were reading. So what from that chapter stood out to you, and how could you apply that to Haran and the Sea of Stories so far as we go through it? And then chapter 5, now where have I seen her before? What do you see from that chapter that's present in here? How does that help drive your understanding of the literature? And we're going to do that for each of the chapters that we read for this quarter in How to Read Literature Like a Professor by Foster. All right, so that's pretty much it. This is your note catcher, and we will submit this final towards the end of the quarter when we get towards the end of the novel and everything. So there'll be a module where you actually submit this, but you're uploading it every weekish just to really show where you're at. I can give you some points based off of what you're doing, so you're not waiting to the last minute to complete it, pretty much. All right, there's that. And then the other one, illusions chart. We're going to go over that in class, and then we're going to be talking about illusions today. But there are lots of illusions, references to other stories within Haran and the Sea of Stories that I want you to identify. I mean, it's really neat how the author pulled in so many other stories, but gave it a different twist to help drive his plot. So we're going to be looking for those illusions, and then we're going to keep track of them in the illusion chart. All right, there's that. Go back to the modules, and then the final one, it's more of a task this week, independent novel study. This is what we're doing for quarter 1. We're going to be working on for semester 1, quarters 1 and 2. Again, I encouraged you last week that we're going to be choosing a novel of your choice from that list. It's a pretty extended list that I provided. A lot of the books on there have been used repeatedly in the AP literature exam, so that's why they're on there. If there's a novel that's not on that list that you would really like to study or utilize, just let me know, and I'll give you the green light if it's okay or if it's not, etc. So, but try to stick with those ones just because that way we have more conversation and we can try to do some more collaboration throughout the quarter and both quarters with students that maybe have similar novels as yourself. So with that, all I'm asking you to do this week is go here to the link, choose a novel, do a little research, make sure it sounds good, and then what's the title of your book, the author's name, that's all provided in here. Include one interesting fact about the author, include 1 or 2 themes found in your novel, and then, which means you're going to have to look that up. Obviously, you're not going to read the whole novel and just tell that to me right now. You can look them up. And then lastly, please identify who the narrator of the story is. So you're going to have to look that up too. Who's telling the story? Okay. With these, I don't have digital copies of all of these texts, so unfortunately, for many of them, if you're interested in getting one that you don't have, you'll need to either go to the library and check one out, or you can purchase one on your own from Amazon or any other place that you'd like to. Sometimes you can get good deals if you look online, and if you need help with that, please let me know. Okay, so there's that. Those are your 4 assignments. There's like 3 assignments and 1 task for this week. If you have any questions, let me know. And again, I'll answer any questions that I can during class today. Thank you so much for your time and joining. And I look forward to seeing you in our virtual class space this week. Bye, everybody.